great city of Renaissance. This particular afternoon, they went to this museum where some of the works of Michelangelo was on display. And as they viewed the half-finished sculpture of Saint Matthew, the tour guide explained that this unfinished work was a prime example of Michelangelo's philosophy of art. He believed that in a stone was a figure or statue waiting to be released. The work of the artist was to free that statue from that stone. And this Dr. Ronald Meeks had this to say. He says, the statue was so lifelike that I thought any minute Saint Matthew might just step out of that huge stone. He goes on to say that as he looked at the half-finished statue, I could see that the artist had begun to free the statue, but had not been able to complete it. The tour guide went on to explain that Michelangelo had numerous works he never finished. As in retrospect, we think about God's work on the face of the earth, we realize that God has begun a work in us to conform us to the image of Christ. However, unlike Michelangelo, God does not stop working in our lives until He finishes what He started or what He intended to accomplish. You see, I want to begin with starting the work this morning. God started the work. You see, the psalmist David said in Psalms 139, verse 13 to 17, it reads, "For thou hast possessed my reins. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee, when I was made in secret, and curiosity wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members are written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God! How great is the sum of them!" The psalmist makes quite plain this morning that we were fearfully and wonderfully made. God had called Jeremiah whilst he was in his mother's womb. And we hear of countless cases of how God had a divine appointment of whom He wanted to choose on the face of the earth to be able to fulfill the purpose and the plan that He had for mankind. We read that through biblical history, and we come to the one remarkable fact that as we are born, that from day one, God's plan starts to find an abiding place in our hearts, and God starts to miraculously put together every day of our life as a testimony unto Him, the marvelous work that He started in us. I often wondered, how did God work? How did God work in the lives of hardened criminals of today? Did he not use the same process? So why have they gone wayward in their life at this very moment in time? The question begs. And we can have an answer for that this morning, that we have a violation of we have a will of how we live. We can choose. We have a choice to live and to accept that God's working in us is sure. Like his foundation in us is sure. And so we understand that this morning, that God has a perfect plan in us. And unless we, like the psalmist David, can stand back and admire the masterpiece of God, then only we will be able to realize that every moment is significant in the eyes of God. And all kinds of beholders that will see God's handiwork in motion. And one of the things that I started to understand God speaking in today's message is that so many of us have started our journey with God. Many of us have gone wayward because of our own volition. We chose to be able to go in the way we desired. But God's work continues to happen. And that is why sometimes hardened criminals, when they go through jail and community service and the like, when they emerge out of this entire process, they have a change of mind. God's process has not stopped. Some of them have given their hearts and lives to the Lord Jesus Christ, and we see what a remarkable change, that we ourselves don't recognize the character that is in front of us, because we start to admire the handiwork of God. So God starts this work. And from infancy, God starts to nourish every part of our body in order to ensure that we ourselves will emerge as this whole man or whole woman, as it were. So the starting is very crucial. And that is why the Bible is so emphatic about training our children in the ways of the Lord, so that when they grow old, they will not depart from it. They will understand right from wrong. Yeah, it says that, and that my soul knoweth right well. My soul knoweth right well. And for those people that have fallen off the rails, it is evident that their soul has accepted whatever is out in the world and have allowed that to creep into their lives, and that worldly desire and lust and everything else have overtaken them, and that their soul does not know right from wrong. He then goes on to say, my substance was not hid from thee. And so every person's life is laid bare before the Lord. There's none of us that can claim that whatever we've done, we've hid from the Lord, and that we were successful in hiding it from the Lord. Even Adam tried to hide his nakedness. Him and his wife took fig leaves to cover their nakedness. But that was symbolic of trying to hide sin. When we understand the children, children of Israel, when they plundered Ai, I think it was,